Now, continuing on in the development of gospel music, Reverend James Cleveland was well known for popularizing what's known as mass choir. And again, many people in contemporary culture are familiar with this, like a black church choir singing, backing up a solo group or solo voice. And so we have a short gospel history of James Cleveland, and then we have a music video featuring a singer that's very well known in gospel circles named Albertina Walker. And that second video is longer. You only need to watch the first 4 minutes of that.
When I get to heaven, put on the shoes, walk around heaven and spare me.
Reverend James Cleveland was one of the most prolific and gifted composers of his time. Like his mentor, Thomas Dorsey, he had the unique ability to reach out and touch his audience with his lyrics. They could identify with his songs when he wrote about not being able to pay the rent or buy food. He had a message for them, and they responded.
And I will say...
Born in Chicago during the Depression era, Cleveland was raised by his grandmother, whom he credits his musical ability. With an unstoppable determination, he taught himself to play the piano and began writing songs as a teenager. Many of his writings were published thanks to Roberta Martin.
Amazing Grace.
Cleveland sang with various gospel groups and moved from city to city honing his craft. While in Detroit, he was a minister for Reverend C.L. Franklin and later collaborated with Franklin's daughter, Aretha, on the Grammy-winning album, Amazing Grace. Meanwhile, other gospel groups were singing Cleveland's original compositions, and he was performing with such greats as the Gospel All-Stars and Mahalia Jackson. His arrangements brought together for the first time gospel with jazz and pop rhythms, paving the way for such artists as Edwin Hawkins and Andre Crouch.
Come on, mass choir, help me sing.
Cleveland moved to Los Angeles during the 60s and became a minister. Having his own church was an answer to a prayer, but it didn't complete his vision. Gospel music had become so important to him that he wanted a way to preserve the gospel tradition. In 1968, he returned to Philadelphia and founded the Gospel Music Workshop of America. He brought together talented young men and women, singers, writers, and instrumentalists who he would train to further develop the music he so dearly loved. Today, the Gospel Music Workshop of America is still flourishing with over 500,000 members from every state. During his illustrious career, James Cleveland received numerous awards, released over 200 albums, and received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His contribution to gospel will always be remembered. He was not just a singer, but also a minister, a musician, a producer, a composer, a teacher, and a mentor. Gospel music reached new heights because of the genius of James Cleveland, the crown prince of gospel, a true gospel great.
If I perish, let me perish. I'm going to meet you. If I perish, let me perish. I'm going to
Let me hear you say yes. Say it again. I feel all right now.
But if I perish, oh, don't you worry. If I perish,
Talking about more gospel through the years, through the decades, and especially in the concept of code switching between gospel and secular styles. We have Ray Charles once again. We've seen him before and listened to him before. And if you've seen the movie Ray, you know that he was initially criticized for bringing the gospel dialect into early R&B. So, ironically, blues style came into early gospel. There was code switching there and syncretism there. And then gospel came back into R&B or rhythm and blues and infused it with some of the syncretic style that had developed. And Ray Charles even took it a step further by bringing some of the language of gospel music into secular music. So in talking about his main woman, his girlfriend, his wife, whatever the relationship might be, he talks about loving her, but he puts the word hallelujah in there. Hallelujah, I love her so. Take a look.
Hallelujah. Let me tell you about a girl I know. She's my baby, she lives me go. Every morning before the sun comes up, she bring me coffee in my bakery cup. And I know now, oh, that no. When I'm in trouble and I have no friend, I know you go with me until the end. Everybody asks me how I know. I smile at them since she told me so. I know now, yeah, I know. I just love her so. Now if I call her on the telephone and tell her that I'm all alone, by the time I cut my phone, I hear her on my door. In the evening when the sun go down, we never nobody else around. Kissing me, she holds me tight and tell me, Ray Charles, everything's all right. And I know, and I know, I just know her so. By the time I cut my one fall, I hear her on my door. In the evening when the sun goes down, I don't let nobody else around. Kissing me, she holds me tight. Tell me that everything goes right, and I know now. Oh, I know, oh, hallelujah, I just love her so. Hallelujah, yeah, oh, I just love her so. You know, she's my little woman who calls town. And baby, I'm a little fool, baby girl. Said it, I know. I'm a working. I keep a working. I working. I work. She's all right. She's all right. I believe my little girl is all right. Oh, baby, she. Wow! Hey! I know I'm the woman so much there. Hallelujah, she's all much like me. Yeah, Lord, yeah. I feel all
Another artist who was very, very adept at code switching was a keyboardist and singer named Billy Preston. He was a keyboardist for the Beatles in their later years. If you've ever heard the song Get Back by the Beatles, you've heard his electronic piano playing in that. You've heard him in the Beatles song Come Together, if you're familiar with that one. And he had his own hit records as well. You may be familiar with songs like Nothing from Nothing, Will It Go Round in Circles, and a duet with a female singer called With You I'm Born Again. But he grew up in the church, learned to play church organ, and adapts that style into all his secular music. So I have two clips here. The first one is his solo instrumental version of How Great Thou Art. And you'll see some of the blues style that came into gospel organ playing as he performs this piece.